Here we go with video 2 of what will be a 3-part video series. Now, I promise that the next video that I publish will be part 3. Not like part 1, which is over a year and a half ago. There's been some things that have come up. But anyway, we're done with the butler's pantry. There's a couple little things. There's just a little bit of paint on some trim, just on one little piece down there, that sort of thing. But other than that, we're done. Let me go back and talk about just a recap of what we did for the first video, so you don't have to go back and watch all that. But if you did, I mean, I wouldn't say no. I'll link it below. I'll try to link it up here. I don't know if it's going to let me or not, because I've switched from iMovie to Final Cut Pro, and I would like to blame it on the software, but it's user error or user incompetence or user issue. So I'm going to try to link it up there. I'm not sure if I'll be able to, but I'm going to try. Anyway, it'll be down below. Let me go through the first video, like I said. We'll go through this one, and then the very next video that'll come out of me will be the third in the series and the wrap up for this bad boy. All right, thanks. We converted a bedroom into our dining room, and what was our closet we decided to convert into a butler's pantry. And what we had to work with wasn't bad. It just needed a little bit of love and some changing. We'd already painted the ceiling and that sort of thing, but we needed to take the old like 1920s shelf brackets out and put the quarter round back in and paint, and then square up the walls. Also, when we were putting our HVAC in, I used that corner as a route for the cable and for all the air conditioning lines, so we need to put a chase up there. And fairly straightforward. Fairly. Really, the first part of the process was to build the lower cabinets out of some decent 3/4 inch birch, and then after that I went ahead and skim coated all the walls and made sure that the walls were in good shape. And then after doing just the carcasses of the cabinets and then doing that pipe chase for all the wires, I went ahead and did all of the upper cabinets as well. And again, they're made out of the 3/4 inch birch. Now, I really wanted these cabinets to match every other cabinet in the house and the cabinets that were original to the 1928 construction. So I did the shelf adjustment kind of the old school way with stiles and battens. Drilling holes, ripping them down so each individual shelf is adjustable, and it looks like it's been here for 90 plus years. Not only did I design everything, but I took some really detailed build notes. There's not a plumb or square wall in this house, so in order to do all of the mortise and tenon doors, each one had to be custom fit. So I went and glued up both the flat panel and the glass panel doors, and then hand fit them into the lower and then the upper cabinets as well. And this is kind of where I left it. It was cold and I needed to paint, but it was a little too cold to paint, and so the project kind of sat. I did pick up some hardware and I picked up some other things, but this is where it kind of sat after March until it started warming up. Painting doors and trim today. For the paint on this, I got to use my super high-speed 21st century positive airflow extraction Ventahood. No, I painted these in the yard. I find I have to defend my white overalls in every painting video I make. I'm not in a cult, but it's kind of old school in that I paint in white overalls. I just do. Not a cult. Not. The first coat of primer is on and drying, both top and bottom. I am going to go ahead and sand this down once it dries and caulk everything, and then apply a second coat of primer, and then the first coat of paint will go on after that. So in a couple days it'll be brilliant bright white. 2 coats of primer, and then the first coat of finish, there'll be 3, are on. Normally I would spray cabinets to get in every nook and cranny and to have a nice smooth finish, but these are site built, they're not shop built cabinets. Additionally, they're site built in my finished dining room, and if I cranked up the spray gun inside my dining room with Visqueen or not, my wife would execute me. So I'm having to paint these by hand. And for these, I'm using a 4-inch roller, a 3-inch brush for cut-in, an 1.5-inch brush for cut-in, and then this is a stencil brush. And why a stencil brush? Well, with these adjustable shelf pieces, I'm trying to get in here with the 3-inch or even the 1.5 is nigh impossible. And so you load up one of the stencil brushes and you just rotate it around and push it in, and then you do every one of these like this. So it just means that it takes absolutely forever to get paint on those. Now the inside of these are not going to get 3 coats of paint. They're only going to get 2 coats of paint just because that's how it is. And with a wave of the magic wand and or stencil brush, look at that. 3 coats on all the trim. Now I use Benjamin Moore paint, and this happens to be a Chantilly lace white. It's what I use for all my trim in my own house and other people's houses. It is my favorite paint. Again, Benjamin Moore Chantilly lace. Now I jumped the gun just a little bit and fully populated this cup rack with cups. There's actually a full separate video that I'll link below on the building of this Starbucks cup rack in the pantry. All right, we have the second round of hinge cleanup for the cabinets. This is after about a 24-hour crock pot cook, and I'm going to let them go for another 8 hours and hit them again with a brass brush before I clean them up and paint them black. Hinges all clean and ready to be installed, including a couple of these really nice Stanley Sweetheart hinges that after all the paint and gunk was removed, they cleaned up so nicely. Look at that. Tools used for insetting the hinges. And perfectly flush with some number 6 by 3/4 inch brass screws, which will darken to match over time. And the easiest thing to do is just to take and push it about halfway in. Spin it if you want, but there we go. And this isn't voodoo or anything. It's just a mix of my own beeswax from my beehives and a little bit of paraffin wax to lubricate the screws. I hand cut all the pockets for the hinges and the face frames. You could do it with a router, but this is just as fast for 6-7 doors. Anyway, what I do is I use a small Japanese back saw, and after measuring with a hinge, I'll go ahead and I'll cut the initial, and then I will take and I'll scribe the thickness on either side, and then chisel it out, get it nice and smooth, and pre-drill for the brass screws, which are of course waxed before I install them. See, pre-waxed screws. All the doors are on, all the hinges are mortised in, everything is swinging free like it's supposed to, both upper and lower. Now I've got these tabs on because the next thing that has to go on are the glass knobs, and then at some point right after that I'll install the glass in the 2 uppers, and the shelves will go in. Everything will get a final coat of paint, and the granite will go on, and we'll call the pantry done. So I'm here at Earthwise, and I was about to go over to Wallingsford to pick up some restoration glass for the tops of the pantry, but one of the employees here taught me into, hold on, maybe we have an old window we can cut up. Holy crap. So I have original glass, not restoration stuff, that I saved probably $150 on by listening to the people here. If you got money to spend, do it here on restoration stuff. Like, again, they saved me time, they saved me money, and really took care of me and cut the glass for me. I didn't have to cut the glass. It was awesome. Ready to install the glass. Now, I will warn you that every time I work with glass, I cut myself. So we may go like full Roy Underhill in this video. But what I'm going to do, I'll speed this up, but just to let you know, I'm going to put a little bit of caulk in. I'm going to set the glass in, and then I will start cutting the trim, and I'll give you a little more detail as I do that. The glass that I had cut out of the old windows fits perfectly, which I'm really happy about. And now it's time to hold it in. And the way that I do this is when I go to put it together, I drop on the bottom and on the sides just a tiny, tiny bit of silicone, just, you know, out of just a regular caulk gun, but a tiny little bit of clear silicone, just to hold it in place for a second or two and allow it to have a cushion. And then what I've done is I've taken some poplar and taken a 1/4 inch roundover bit and hit all 4 corners. And then what I'm going to do is, of course, paint and prime this and then cut it to match the exact height here. And then after it's all cut and then the cut edges primed and painted as well, I will use my little pin nailer and go ahead and pop it in. I'll show you all that. But my pin nailer I use like once a year, once every 18 months. Completely worth it. Primed and painted. I ran that stick of poplar through the table saw a good 4 times. And then I have 5/16 inch little tiny pieces of 1/4 round that I'm going to use for the molding. One extra bit, you can actually see the inside of the molding from the glass, like when you look through the door. So I'm going to prime and paint the insides of these two before I install them. The way that I cut the little trim is super simple. I'm in elementary. I use a scrap miter block. Yeah, this is for 3/8 trim. I have some more for half and some for 1/4 inch trim too. And I made this like way back when on another project where I had to inset some glass and make my own trim. So really easy, just a backed Japanese saw, a pull saw. Gives you a nice little clean edge. So, real quick, I'll show you this here. And I don't really take measurements on this. It's a little simpler than that. Let's see. Hold on. Now, one of the things that I do here is I don't use a pencil to mark with. I think I get more accuracy using a knife. I have a different knife, but this happens to be what is handy. Okay, voila. And it pops right in with like a 1/16 inch reveal. Alright, it's just that fast. So, I don't use glue or anything. The silicone keeps it from rattling, and then just to keep these in place, I use some pins. So let's do that. And there we go, all in. Now it will get one more coat of paint on top of this. This little thing, again, I use it once every year and a half. Worth its weight, 23 gauge pin nailer. I really appreciate you following along and just drilling down into the detail with me on this part of the build. As I said, the next and final part will be getting the granite in place. I've got some detail inside these cabinets that I think you're really going to like. Yeah, it'll all wrap it up in a nice little bow. So if you would, join me for that one as well. But thank you very much for watching, and please hit the subscribe button if you would. Thank you. All right.